This video contains harsh language, specifically English. Warning: the following video contains opinions, and they could even be contrary to yours. Please remember that even in the heat of the moment, it's about opinion. If you watch the whole video and you still don't agree with me, well, feel free to sound off in the comments. Just don't be a dick about it. Opinionated mates. Nintendo has just launched their Bug Bounty program for Nintendo 3DS, and I feel like I just need to comment on this. With rewards up to £15,000, $20,000, in exchange for vulnerability information regarding the Nintendo 3DS. This is because they've noticed dissemination of inappropriate content to children, cheating methods like save data modification, piracy via game application dumping and copied game application execution, ARM11 kernel takeovers, and hardware vulnerabilities via security key detection. In other words, Nintendo are shitting themselves right now because, like I've said before, I know a guy who knows a guy. This system has been ripped apart recently. The Nintendo 3DS is, well, it's more open than the town bike at this point. And what I'm finding funny is that Nintendo is only releasing this Bug Bounty program now, because they've only just realized that shit is beyond their control. Rather than a year and a half ago, if not more, when people were hacking Animal Crossing save data for the first time and modifying their towns, Nintendo should have been conscientious then and worried then, because now there's no hope in hell of Nintendo beating this. There's no hope in hell of Nintendo stopping Nintendo 3DS modification. Now, here is how Nintendo can stop hacking. Well, it's not going to happen now for the Nintendo 3DS, but for future systems. This is how Nintendo can stop hacking. Release a system that is convenient to use, has plenty of options for its users, and doesn't hide things behind a software blockage wall and just, like, disabling things. Right, you get the Nintendo 3DS, and out comes this beautiful, sleek system with so much power, and Nintendo used 10 to 15% of what the system can do. And the new 3DS comes out, and this marvelous piece of technology has enough power to be able to stream video games wirelessly across your home network. It has the power in its processor to do this. And Nintendo uses, what, 10 to 15% of what the system can do. Like, it baffles me that they release hardware and they don't use its power. When a hacker sees a system and there is so much potential in that device, of course they're gonna latch onto it and try to hack it and find a way to get the most out of it. Of course they are. So at this point, I think it's too little too late for Nintendo. The Nintendo 3DS is cracked open right now, and Nintendo's security keys for the system have been cracked. The same thing that happened with the PlayStation Portable and the PlayStation 3, because Sony was stupid enough to use the same security key for both systems, right? Massive oversight. Nobody is going to find out our security key. You give people enough time, enough effort, and enough hardware, they will find out your security key. At the end of the day, it's just a string of numbers and letters. Give them a chance and they'll break that shit down, right? The security key has been cracked open. The Nintendo 3DS has been cracked open. This is it. At this point, anything that anybody submits now to Nintendo, right, will be implemented into future firmware releases. But anybody who's emulating a fake firmware on their device, that's it. They don't have to worry, because their fake firmware gets updated with all the protections, but their real firmware stays unchanged. And now there's a hack for the Nintendo 3DS that means that you can launch your custom firmware without needing an internet connection to access a hacked website that forces the console to crash. So now you don't even need to have internet information saved into your core base firmware at all. It's done. Anything Nintendo does now is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while it's crashing. That's it. There's nothing more to this than that. Anything you might see right now, like, oh, they're offering anywhere from $100 up to $20,000, depending on the vulnerability exposed, right? And they need a description of the problem as well as proof of concept and functional code. The Nintendo 3DS is open. It's open. And it's not just exploits within games, it's exploits within apps, it's exploits within the software code itself, within the system. I know I'm just repeating myself, but there's nothing they can do. And pulling down games like Cubic Ninja or VVVVVV, you know, like, just because there's exploits found in them, it's nothing at this point. Like, if Nintendo wants to get rid of hacking on their system now, they have to remove the fucking web browser from the firmware. Because the very core thing programmed into the system itself is where all the current exploits are taking place. They have no hope in hell of beating this. And yes, I say that with a little bit of smugness, because I think that companies should allow people to use what they buy in whatever way they see fit. I mean, I can understand if Nintendo is concerned that people are showing inappropriate content to young users. Yeah, okay, that's possible, but can you give me some context for that other than the people who are using Swapnote in Japan? Because I remember hearing about that, but that was people using Nintendo software without exploits or hacks. Save data modification is fine. It's fine if you are the only person, like, benefiting from that. I can understand if you're playing Pokemon online with hacked Pokemon, sure, that's negative. But if you're just playing games and hacking the save data for your own enjoyment, for your own Animal Crossing town, you know, like, what's the big deal? And game dumping, Nintendo, it's gonna happen, alright? And copied game application execution, it's gonna happen. When you build a system and you build in a backdoor for you to get in, that backdoor, regardless of how many alarms you rig it with, no matter how many padlocks, a big enough push will bring that backdoor down. There's no way to protect yourself on this one. It's crazy. It's like, there's no protection at this point. There's nothing they can do. And it makes me smile because there's nothing they can do. And look at it like this, right? We've got a company that very rarely puts anything on sale. Its games are still being sold for their full price in stores. You'll go into a game store and see Mario Kart DS at full price. This is not a consumer-friendly company. Nintendo has never been a consumer-friendly company. So long as things are not convenient for the end user, hackers will hack consoles. Hacks will exist. It's just the way of the world, Nintendo. It's just the way of the world. You've lost this battle. For the love of God, put some decent protection on the Nintendo Switch. Because if you don't, within a week or 2 weeks, that's going to be cracked open too. If you want to stop hacking, you have to make the necessary precautions with your new systems. Because the Wii U and Nintendo 3DS are fucked.